So I'm here with Toby Morwitch, 24-year-old well-established traveller. Welcome, Toby.
Hi Andy, how you going?
Good, mate. So just start us off by telling us just some of the places that you've recently travelled to.
I've been pretty fortunate recently. I lived in Argentina for 2 years after an initial plan to travel South America. I've traveled down through the east coast of Australia, down to Tasmania to play music, up the east coast of Australia to Byron to play music, and most recently I've ridden a push bike around Iceland. Now, Iceland's one of the last growing islands on Earth. So Iceland's still expanding due to its volcanic activity. As a result, it's a really young and diverse landscape. That combination of not many trees and fresh forming lava fields and flowing glaciers. I mean, it's something out of a novel, really.
So why do you travel? Like what comes to your mind and when you choose where you're travelling and some of the reasons why you want to go and travel?
I think a lot of it intrinsically is for the challenge. There's a lot of sense of self in placing yourself in a problem solving scenario where potentially the external inputs, the context is all up for debate. So I think I live in Canberra, which is the place that I've grown up. And while there are obviously professional challenges and daily challenges and social challenges, traveling really gives you the opportunity to place yourself at the core challenge of how do I survive in this space? How do I see it for all of its worth? And how do I make this experience the experience of a lifetime? So I think initially that sense of self, the internal challenge is really important. But also, it's really important, I think, to just widen your horizons.
Awesome. And do you have any places in particular where you've kind of really gauged an understanding of how other people live or anything along those lines?
I think the Argentinian experience is pretty to the question. Um, I left to Argentina without any Spanish whatsoever. I just went to surf in South America and arrived 8 days before they shut the borders and found myself living there for 2 years, which really entailed I had to pick up a language, I had to learn Spanish, I had to learn how to live amidst a global pandemic, I had to find work. And as a result, I made really foundational friendships and family over there that I remain in contact with to this day. And none of those experiences could have come together without the forced understanding of our differences in culture. Um, every day in Argentina was a learning experience, and also every day coming back was a learning experience, seeing the differences in those two cultures come together.
How do you feel about traveling helping to decrease stress? Do you think it's a genuine stress reliever?
I think it can be. It absolutely can be, and I've definitely never felt more relaxed than when I've been traveling. I think probably more than just a stress reliever. It also uh, it gives you tools to deal with stress. Um, it's a catch 22. Traveling, you're away from your responsibilities of your life. You're away from everything that contributes to the stresses of your life. But you're also in an unfamiliar scenario, which is quite a stressful scenario for a lot of people. Using the mindset that you are on holiday and you should be relaxing allows you to deal with that stress being abroad. And I think in turn, it serves you well for dealing with stress when you get back into Australia, back home.
Are there any other mental learnings that you've taken besides stress?
I think that, yeah, there's a lot. And saying yes is a big one. You don't do too much for yourself unless you're saying yes. And you don't do too much for yourself by not pushing yourself away from your barriers. Um, whether those barriers be what you've experienced before or what your levels of maybe tiredness are in a night. Saying yes to a scenario is the quickest the quickest path to making good memories and feeling good about yourself in the long run.
Are there any places around Australia that you really, really loved?
Yeah, I mean Australia's incredible. It's awesome. I think more and more as Australians travel overseas, they work out just how gorgeous Australia is. We're pretty lucky here. I have a particular love with the central and lower north coast of Australia, and equally with the south coast. So pretty well stretching anywhere from Crescent Head down to Seal Rocks is incredible, and stretching anywhere down from Bateman's Bay to Potato Point, just some of the most magical areas in the world.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that wraps us up, Toby. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having me.